Before I start, here's why this story matters. A lot of marriages don't blow up with a big dramatic moment. They rot through tiny acts of disrespect that get normalized. Last-minute cancellations, sarcasm disguised as honesty, and the quiet assumption that one partner will always adapt, always wait, always stay available. This story is about catching that pattern early and responding like an adult, calm, direct, and with real consequences. Not speeches, not begging, not playing detective, just boundaries, logistics, and self-respect. If you've ever felt like you're being managed like an item on someone's calendar, pay attention to how I handled it. I stopped chasing, I changed access, and I let her choices land exactly where they belonged. I was in the hallway with one sock in my hand and the other already on my foot, doing that little last check people do before heading out. Keys on the console table, shirt pressed, bottle of wine in a bag, because we were meeting our usual group and I wasn't showing up empty-handed. Lauren was at the mirror, and she didn't look like she was going to a casual hangout. She looked charged, hair perfect, outfit sharper than the plan required, like she was walking into a spotlight, not a booth at a familiar place with friends we'd known for years. Without turning around, she tossed it over her shoulder. "I'm going without you." I blinked once. "Okay. What?" She kept adjusting an earring. "Kayla changed it. It's a girl's thing now." "A girl's thing," I repeated slow. "Since when?" Lauren finally looked at me, but not in a real way. More like a quick scan, like I was an obstacle in the doorway. "Since 5 minutes ago." "Don't make it weird." I stared at the wine bag. "We were invited as a couple. Mark texted me yesterday, asking if we were both coming. I planned my evening around that. I bought that wine. I ironed a shirt. I'm literally half dressed." She rolled her eyes like I was reciting a grocery list wrong. "You'll survive, Evan." There it was. That tone. Not tired. Not stressed. Just dismissive. "I'm not asking to argue," I told her. "I'm asking why you didn't talk to me before you decided." She laughed, one short, sharp sound. "Because it's not a decision that needs your committee meeting." I set the sock down on the table and stood straighter. "Lauren, it's our friends. It's our plan. You can't just rewrite it and act like I'm crazy for noticing." She huffed, grabbed her purse. "Why do you always make everything about you?" I let that hang for a beat. "I'm making it about the fact we're married. That usually includes both of us." She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume. Her expression wasn't angry. It was annoyed, like I was a slow app loading on her phone. "Lately," she said, enunciating like she was explaining math to a kid, "everything involving you feels like an obligation." I didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at her until she got uncomfortable. She didn't. She just shrugged like she'd said the weather. Then she turned toward the door, and right before she left, she tossed the little dagger with a smile that wasn't friendly. "Call your buddies. Play poker or whatever you do when I'm not entertaining you. No kiss. No touch. No, I'll see you later." Just the door opening, the cold rush of night air, and her walking out like I was a piece of furniture. I stood there with my pressed shirt and my stupid bottle of wine, and a new thought settling in my head. This wasn't about one meetup. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have taken my sock and keys and walked out first. The next morning, I made coffee like normal. Routine is a good way to keep your brain from doing something dumb. Lauren came into the kitchen like nothing happened. Hair in a neat twist. Phone in hand. That same, "I'm busy" energy. I didn't start a fight. I don't do morning wars. I slid a mug across the counter and kept it simple. "I want to reset this," I told her. "Not with a big talk. Just time. Let's take a short trip this weekend. 2 nights. That cabin we liked by the lake. The one with the big tub and the fireplace." She stared at me for a second, then burst out laughing like I'd suggested we move into a circus. "A bath in a rented cabin isn't going to fix you," she said, sipping coffee like she hadn't just thrown a punch. I leaned against the counter. "Fix me." She waved her hand. "This. The whole. You acting like we're in some romance movie. It's desperate." I didn't react. I just nodded once. "Okay." She watched me nod, like she expected me to scramble and plead. Instead, I asked, "So what would you do?" Lauren tilted her head, smug. "My friends understand me better than you do." That line didn't sting like she wanted. It clarified, like someone finally admitting the real plan out loud. "Got it," I replied calm. She narrowed her eyes. "That's it. Got it." I picked up my coffee, took a slow sip. "Yeah, that's it." She leaned forward. You're not going to fight for us? I set the mug down. I offered something normal. Time together. You called it desperate. That tells me what I need to know. Lauren scoffed. You're being dramatic. I'm being accurate. I corrected. Then I grabbed my jacket off the chair. She followed me to the entryway, voice rising, trying to hook me. Where are you going? Out. I answered, putting on my shoes. I've got things to do. Her eyes flashed. So now you're punishing me. I looked at her and gave her a small, almost polite smile. No. I'm adjusting. There's a difference. I left without slamming anything, without theatrics. Just the click of the door. And behind that door, I decided something that scared her later. I was done trying to convince her to want me. 2 days later, I didn't ask permission to breathe in my own house. I texted Mark during lunch. Me, you and Jenna free tonight? I'm doing a small thing at my place. Couple guys. Cards. Pizza. Nothing big. Mark responded in about 10 seconds. Mark, you okay? Me. I'm fine. Just want people around. Mark, we'll be there. Also, my sister might come by. She's in town. I knew Mark's sister, Kate. I'd met her a few times at family stuff. She was the kind of woman who made eye contact when she spoke. No glittery nonsense. No games. She had a firm handshake and a steady voice. People like that make you remember what normal feels like. That night, I cleaned the living room, set out snacks, put a deck of cards on the table. Not because I was trying to impress anyone, because I like my house to look like a grown man lives there. Lauren came home around 7 and froze when she saw the setup. What's this? She asked, like I'd installed a trampoline in the kitchen. Friends. I replied, straightening a chair. They're coming over. She blinked. Tonight. Yes. She frowned. I didn't know. I kept my tone neutral. You don't run my calendar, Lauren. Her jaw tightened. We have plans. I met her eyes. We did. And then you taught me those can change last minute. She opened her mouth, then closed it. That was new. She wasn't used to me using her own logic without shaking. Mark and Jenna showed up first. Then 2 other guys from our circle. Kate arrived last, wearing jeans and a simple jacket, hair pulled back, smile easy. Hey, Evan, she said, stepping in. Long time. Good to see you, Kate, I answered. Grab whatever you want. We're keeping it simple. Lauren stayed in the hallway like she didn't know where to place herself. She put on a pleasant face for about 10 minutes, then disappeared into the bedroom with her phone like she had an appointment with it. The night was good. Real laughs. Real talk. Mark made fun of my card shuffling. You shuffle like a man who hates joy, he said. I shuffle like a man who hates losing. I shot back. Kate laughed. That's the most honest thing anyone said tonight. Around midnight, I checked my phone and saw Lauren's message. Don't wait up. No explanation. No warmth. Just a command dressed as a sentence. I stared at it for a moment, then looked around my living room. People talking. Kate leaning back on the couch, listening, actually listening, to Mark's story. Normal human energy. I typed back. Okay. Then, because I'm not a saint, and I'm not a doormat, I did something simple. I angled my phone and took a photo of the room. Not a romantic shot. Just a clean moment. Kate on one side of the frame laughing. Mark making a ridiculous face. My coffee table covered in cards and pizza boxes. I sent it to Lauren with one line. All good. Nobody's waiting. No insults. No threats. Just information. New rules. Mark noticed my expression. You good? He asked quietly. I'm great, I replied. Keep playing. 15 minutes later, the front door flew open. Lauren walked in like she owned the air in the room. She scanned the living room, eyes locking onto Kate like Kate was the headline. Then she looked at me, voice sharp. You serious right now? You decided to play games. The room went quiet in that way people get when they realize they're accidental witnesses. I didn't stand up fast. I didn't posture. I just stayed seated, calm, and answered like an adult. You told me not to wait, I said. So I didn't. Lauren's nostrils flared. That photo. You think you're clever? I raised an eyebrow. I think I'm living in my house. Mark cleared his throat like he wanted to disappear into the couch. Kate didn't move. She just watched Lauren with a look that said, I see you. Lauren glanced at everyone and realized she had an audience. Her tone changed instantly, smoother. Evan, she said, can we talk privately? I nodded once. Sure. I stood up, walked to the bedroom without rushing. Lauren followed, heels clicking like a countdown. The moment the door closed, her mask dropped. You humiliated me, she hissed. I leaned against the dresser. No. You walked into a room full of people and tried to start a scene. That's on you. Her eyes flashed. You knew what you were doing. Yes, I agreed. I was doing exactly what you do. Living my life without asking for approval. Lauren scoffed. You're being petty. I shook my head. I'm being consistent. She stepped closer, trying to loom. So what? You're going to parade women around now. Kate is Mark's sister, I replied flat. And nobody's being paraded. The only person making this weird is you. Lauren's mouth tightened. You've changed. I nodded again, slow. Yeah, because you made it clear there's no room for me in your schedule unless I'm useful. Her face twitched. That's not what I meant. It's what you've been doing, I answered. You didn't walk out of the marriage tonight. You walked out before that. I just finally started breathing again. She stared at me like she couldn't compute calm defiance. Then she tried a different angle, softer, wounded. I didn't want it to go this far, she murmured. I didn't bite. I opened the door. We're done talking for tonight. She grabbed my arm. Evan. I looked down at her hand on me, then back up. Don't. She let go. I walked back out to the living room and sat down like nothing happened. Mark blinked at me. Everything cool? Yeah, I replied. Deal. Lauren stayed in the bedroom. And that was the first time she understood something important. Her usual levers didn't move me anymore. In the morning, the house felt like the aftertaste of a long night. I came out to find Lauren already cleaning. Not aggressively, not slamming cabinets. Quiet. Controlled. Almost normal. She wiped down the counter and slid the trash bag out like she was doing a commercial for domestic peace. Need help? She asked lightly. I poured coffee. I've got it. She nodded, then kept talking like we were a normal couple. Your friends seem to have fun. Yeah, I replied. A beat. Then, casual as a weather report. So, who was the woman in the picture? I looked at her over the rim of my mug. Kate. Mark's sister. Lauren smiled, small. Oh, right. I forgot about her. She kept wiping the counter that was already clean. She's pretty. I didn't respond. Lauren set the rag down and finally looked at me like she was trying to study a problem. I didn't mean what I said the other night, she offered. What part? I asked calm. Her eyes flicked. The obligation thing. I nodded once. Okay. She waited, expecting me to rush in with relief. When I didn't, she added, I've just been stressed. Sure, I replied. People get stressed. Lauren tried a small laugh. You're really going to stay like this? All serious, I set my mug down. I'm going to stay accurate. She swallowed and shifted tactics, voice gentler. I don't want us to be like roommates, she said. I shrugged. Then stopped treating me like furniture. Lauren frowned. That's not fair. I looked at her, steady. You canceled plans like I didn't exist. You told me my presence felt tight. You told me your friends understand you better than I do. That's not a rough week. That's a pattern. She opened her mouth, closed it. Then she walked over and touched my shoulder lightly, like she was testing if the old Evan was still there. I'm trying, she said softly. I didn't move away, but I didn't lean in either. Trying would sound like I was wrong, and here's what I'm changing. Not don't be serious. Lauren's hand slipped off my shoulder. She nodded like she was taking notes, then left the room. That was her first soft version. Quiet cleaning. A gentle tone. Just enough decency to see if I'd drop my guard. I didn't. A few nights later, I was getting ready to go out alone. Not to prove anything. Because I wanted to sit somewhere with live music and not feel like an unwanted appointment. Lauren leaned in the doorway while I buttoned my jacket. Where are you going? She asked, voice sweet in a way that didn't match her eyes. Jazz place downtown, I replied. She hesitated, then did the second move, bigger, more obvious. Can I come with you? She asked, almost shy. We could go together. I paused and looked at her. That's interesting timing. She blinked. What's that supposed to mean? It means you laughed at my idea of a weekend together, I replied. But when I'm leaving without you, suddenly you want in. Lauren's cheeks colored. I'm trying to be nice. I nodded. And I'm being honest. Tonight I'm going alone. I need space. Her eyes widened. Space? From me? From the whole push-pull, I answered. From the feeling that I'm only welcome when it benefits you. Lauren crossed her arms. You're acting like I did something terrible. You did something clear, I corrected. You made it obvious I'm optional. She scoffed, then tried to flip it. So if I don't come, you'll what, take pictures with more women? I smiled small. Listen to yourself. Lauren's voice sharpened. I'm your wife. And I'm your husband. I replied. Not your backup plan. I grabbed my keys. She stepped forward. So you're just going to leave me here? I looked at her, calm, then repeated her own words with zero heat. I'll be back late, I told her. Don't wait. Her face tightened like I'd slapped her with a mirror. I walked out. At the jazz spot, the lighting was low, the crowd adult. No chaos. No games. I found a table, and Mark slid into the seat across from me 10 minutes later. He didn't ask about the music first. Mark's not that kind of friend. He leaned forward. Okay, what's really going on? I took a sip of water. Lauren's been treating me like I'm in the way. Mark exhaled through his nose. That bad? It's not one big explosion, I said. It's the steady drip. Canceling plans. Rolling her eyes. Talking like I'm work. Then acting shocked when I don't smile through it. Mark nodded slowly. And that text the other night? I smirked. The don't wait order? Yeah. He watched me for a second. You're calm. That's new. I'm not calm, I corrected. I'm done chasing. Mark tapped the table with his finger, thinking. So what are you going to do? I already did it, I replied. I changed my rules. No more waiting around like a golden retriever. Mark gave a short laugh. Good. Then he got serious. You finished? He asked. I stared at the stage where the band was setting up. I don't want to hold it alone anymore, I admitted. I don't want to keep pretending it's fine while she lives like she's single with a roommate at home. Mark nodded, eyes steady. Then don't. The music started. For the first time in a while, my shoulders felt like they belonged to me. When I got home after midnight, the house was quiet, but not asleep. Lauren was on the couch, fully dressed, legs tucked under her like she'd been waiting for a confrontation. She snapped her head up when I walked in. Where were you? She demanded. I hung my jacket calmly. Out. With who? She pressed. I looked at her. Is this the part where you suddenly care about my schedule? Her eyes flashed. Don't be smart. I'm not being smart, I replied. I'm being consistent. Lauren stood up. You've been acting different. Distant. Cold. I nodded once. I stopped running at you when you moved the goalposts. She scoffed. So you're punishing me. I took my keys out of my pocket and set them in the bowl by the door. No. I'm protecting my peace. Lauren's voice sharpened. I asked you a question. Who were you with? I met her eyes. Friends. Music. Quiet. She stepped closer. You're lying. I didn't move. That accusation is rich coming from someone who disappears and sends don't wait, like I'm staff. Her face twisted. I can't believe you're doing this. I tilted my head. Doing what? Not begging. Not panicking. Not trying to earn basic respect. Lauren opened her mouth, then shut it, frustrated. Finally, she snapped. You used to care. I nodded. I still care. I just don't chase. She stared at me, breathing hard like she wanted me to explode. I didn't. I walked past her toward the bedroom, then paused and added, calm. We're not partners right now, Lauren. We're two separate lives under one roof. And you started that. I went to bed. For the next 3 days, the house turned into a polite icebox. We spoke in short, functional sentences. Trash day. Mail came. Dinner. No. She spent more time on her phone than in the same room as me. When she did appear, she watched me like she was waiting for me to crack, to apologize for the crime of having a spine. On the 4th morning, she finally did the thing she'd been circling. I was at the kitchen table reading emails, coffee on the left, laptop open. Lauren walked in, pulled out the chair across from me, and sat down like we were in a meeting. We need to talk, she said. I didn't look up right away. Okay. She inhaled like she was about to deliver a speech. I think we should stop pretending, she said carefully. I want a divorce. She watched my face like a gambler watching the dealer's hands. She wanted the reaction, the pleading, the bargaining, the panic. I looked up, calm. I know, I replied. And you're probably right. Her eyes widened. What? I kept my voice even. You heard me. Lauren blinked hard. You're just agreeing? I'm agreeing with reality, I answered. She leaned forward, stunned. Evan, you're supposed to. I mean, you're not even going to try? I let a beat pass. I tried. I offered time together. You laughed. I asked for basic respect. You called it drama. You canceled plans like I was an inconvenience. You told me being around me felt tight. Lauren's mouth opened. I didn't mean. I lifted a hand, not aggressive, just stopping the noise. I'm not listing this to win. I'm listing it because it's the truth. She swallowed. So that's it. You're just letting me go. I shook my head. I'm not letting you go. I'm letting the burden go. That landed harder than any insult could have. Lauren's eyes filled, not with tenderness, more like panic. Like she'd finally realized the old script wasn't working. "This isn't how I pictured it," she said quietly. I stood up, closed my laptop, and walked to the counter to rinse my mug. "Calm actions. Adult actions." "I didn't either," I replied. "But it's still the end." Lauren sat there, frozen. Then she stood, grabbed her phone, and walked out of the kitchen like the floor had changed beneath her. I didn't chase. I didn't deliver a speech at the door. I didn't negotiate my own dignity. I started making calls, logistical ones. Mark helped me line up a place to stay for a bit. I moved my work schedule around. I separated my space in the house into something clean and temporary, like a man preparing to leave a job that stopped paying. Lauren tried one last little performance that week. A sudden dinner offer, a soft voice, a "we can fix this." I looked at her and said, "You already chose the direction. I'm just not resisting anymore." She didn't like that, because it meant she didn't get to steer me with mood swings and last-minute decisions. A few months later, my life looked different in a way that felt lighter. I moved into a quiet place with a garage and a porch. My mornings weren't tense. My calendar wasn't a battlefield. I reconnected with friends without asking permission. I started going to live music because I enjoyed it, not because I was trying to prove I was okay. Kate and I ran into each other again at Mark's place. No dramatic story, just two adults talking like adults. We got coffee a couple times. She was steady, clear, the kind of woman who doesn't treat you like a slot machine for attention. Lauren? I only heard updates through mutual friends. Nothing cinematic. Just the slow consequence of someone who thought comfort was guaranteed. She moved around a bit. She complained a lot. She acted confused that life didn't rearrange itself around her anymore. And I kept my peace. Because once you've lived as an afterthought in your own marriage, you don't miss the noise. You miss the respect. And when it's gone, leaving isn't a tragedy. It's cleanup. Here's what I learned, and it's not complicated. First, the early signs matter. The first time Lauren canceled our plan like I was a schedule conflict, that wasn't a misunderstanding. That was a test. If I'd swallowed it, I would have trained her that my time, my effort, and my place in the marriage were negotiable. Respect doesn't disappear overnight. It gets peeled away, one you'll survive at a time. Second, talking isn't leadership if it has no consequence. I made one adult attempt to reconnect, simple, direct, no drama. She laughed. That told me the conversation wasn't the problem. Her attitude was. After that, the only move left was action. Changing access, changing my calendar, changing the rules. Not to punish her, to protect myself. Third, the biggest mistake would have been chasing her approval. That's where a lot of men get trapped, explaining, pleading, trying to prove they're worth basic decency. All that does is confirm the power imbalance. When I stopped chasing and started living, her tone changed fast. Not because she suddenly understood my pain, but because she felt the loss of control. If someone treats you like an obligation, don't become a performer trying to earn your spot back. Set the boundary once, clearly, then back it up with behavior. Your calm decisions will say more than any argument ever will.